Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson.
Okay, so state services actually played a huge part in everything that I'm doing.
Don't be afraid. Get out there, meet people, be friendly. Nobody is judging you.
Think big. Look at what do you love to do, what do you enjoy doing, and then how can you turn that into getting paid?
I use my Braille display, I use JAWS.
Put on your cape, grab your gladiator shield, and go get 'em, Tiger.
Don't limit yourself.
Career Expo 2019, such a great opportunity for transition age students to meet up with professionals from a wide variety of professions. It was an opportunity for students transitioning from high school to college to the workplace to ask questions from nearly 25 professionals. What is their job like? What tools they use? And to receive encouragement about the possibilities that they too can achieve their dreams and get the career that they want. Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson, and I'm at the Career Expo in Roseville, Minnesota. Part of State Services for the Blind is putting on this event. And I came up to the table of Alyssa Gourley. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's nice to see you here. You were in my woodworking class back in the day.
Oh, yes. Yes, I was. That was good.
So you're here as part of being a mentor and talking to transition students. Will you tell the listeners what you do?
I work for a company called Siteimprove, and it's basically a software service, and we work on helping people to make their websites better. And accessibility is part of that. And as part of the accessibility service, I am an accessibility tester. So what happens is people sign up for the service, companies sign up for the service, me and my team or whoever test their website to make sure it's accessible for people with disabilities. And that could include screen readers, magnification, anything like that.
So we're all benefit from the work you do.
I hope so.
So your journey to get to your job, how did you start out with State Services for the Blind?
I went to Blind Inc. in 2009, and then afterwards I signed up for State Services for the Blind because I knew I wanted to go to college, but I needed a little help kind of making that turn into a reality, so I signed up with them. And they kind of helped facilitate school, get books, and all that sorts of things. When I graduated, I worked with placement services a little bit. We worked on resume and stuff like that, and job interview, mock interviews and stuff.
Oh, that's great. That's stuff that you need when you go in to apply for jobs.
Yep. That's basically how SSB was involved.
And in your new job, a lot of people always are pretty anxious to know about how the job interview went.
I was on many a job interview, and I've noticed that you kind of get a feel for how it's going to go in the job interview. So like this interview was really great. We talked about accessibility. I explained my passion for accessibility and why it's important. So I feel like we kind of connected on that level. And so I had a pretty good feeling that I was going to get selected for the position, and luckily I did. So that worked out.
Now in school, I believe you were in some type of computer science or a lot of technical stuff, right?
I went to school for computer forensics. I started at MCTC and took the 2-year program, and then I went on to Metropolitan State University for the 4-year. I went through the program. It was really cool to study basically all about computers and like getting into computers, digging in there and finding data. There was also a little bit of an information security component. I thought that's kind of what I wanted to do, and over the course of the last few years, realized that's probably not for me. So I had tested websites for accessibility beforehand. Somebody would post something like either on the NFB list or, something that they needed something tested. Hey, we want to do this study. We'll offer you a little reward for that. So I would take those and test. And I had the computer knowledge, so that's kind of what allowed me to get into the position that I have now.
So what type of tools do you use on a daily basis for your everyday life, and what you would suggest to people that are in high school looking towards college and the workplace?
So screen readers are a big one. JAWS, NVDA, some of the screen readers on the mobile devices, TalkBack for Android, and VoiceOver for the iPhone. If I can just talk, that would be great. Those are big, and that's mainly what I use for my job.
So with your job, most of it's used with like a PC.
PC, Mac. We do some mobile stuff. We're just kind of starting to get into mobile stuff. But I would say, honestly, most of my customers want PC testing.
Well, that seems important because most of the jobs out there or most of the companies out there are based on some type of Microsoft platform.
Yeah, we just test their public-facing web pages. We don't get into like the logging in systems and stuff like that because that probably contains confidential data.
Ain't going there.
No.
Not even with your computer forensic background.
Nope. Honestly, I don't even. No, I don't do anything like that. So yeah.
So with your college experience, a lot of people know that there's disability services available to people, but I know you have to wean yourself off that because you can't take it with you. What was your experience like with trying to get accommodations and then moving on into an independent job?
I honestly didn't touch disability services very much. They helped me out with like a couple books and stuff like that. I probably should have leaned on them a little more, especially when it came to like accommodations for a couple classes I took because they had these lab environments that were, virtual labs on the computer that weren't really that accessible. So I ended up having to hire a reader, and I did that through SSB.
Well, no, I know that the fear is that someone becomes reliant upon disability services office where they want them to do everything and they don't wean themselves off of it to the point where they are confident and independent that they can access stuff themselves. But it seems like you did most of that yourself.
Yeah, I scanned most of my books because sometimes the PDFs that they would get from the publisher wouldn't be accessible, and I was just like, well, if you want it done right, do it yourself. I mean, I guess it's good to rely on services like that. They can certainly be helpful with like testing accommodations and things like that, but you don't really want to rely on them for everything, especially if you're learning how to use technology. In today's workplaces, you have to pretty much use technology for most jobs. So it's really important to get that base of like being able to at least do stuff in Microsoft Word, be able to go to the internet and download a file if you need it, that kind of thing.
Now, JAWS is a workhorse, but I hear a lot of people talking about NVDA, and you use that.
So on my home computer, I use NVDA almost exclusively. It just seems to work a little better. I don't want to get too technical here, but it just seems to me, anyways, to work a little better.
Well, that's the thing. It's nice to explore different areas to see what works best for you, what works best for each individual.
Right. So I'm not going to say like JAWS is better than NVDA or NVDA is better than JAWS because there's not really a better. It really is what works better for you and what works better for your pocketbook because JAWS is very expensive now. They recently came out with, I think it's a home license for $99 a year. And certainly if you can afford that or you can get, SSB to help you out with that, that's certainly an option because JAWS is used in a lot of workplaces. So you should know how to use it and you should be familiar with it.
The old cliche, it's nice to have an assortment of tools in your toolbox.
It really is.
Well, Alyssa, what advice would you give to someone who's a transition age student looking forward to college and the workplace?
Network as much as you can in college and try to get internships that kind of align with what you want to do for your career or help you explore that. Networking is really great because you can talk to people who've had jobs in the field that you're wanting to go into and maybe not necessarily just for them to hook you up with a job, but just to ask them questions, figure out what they've done or what they're doing, that sort of thing.
You came from out of state. You came to a training center. You got your own place. You broke into independence, just kind of like you weren't going back to where you didn't have your own independence. And I admire that. And it's something that probably has helped you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like going back home or whatever. Obviously, that's not the point here. The point is you want to be in an environment where you can be independent to the best of your ability. Because really, if you're stuck in an environment where you're not, then you can lose your skills, you can lose your confidence really easily. And I did not want that because then I'd pretty much almost feel like I would need to go to training all over again. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for coming to the Career Expo and supporting it and letting everyone hear your advice and words of wisdom. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And one last question.
Okay.
Who is your greatest woodworking teacher?
Gee, I don't know. That's leading the podcaster.
Be sure to contact your state services for the blind, your voc rehab, and find out what they can do for you. Live, work, read, succeed. A big shout out goes out to Chi Chow for his beautiful music, and you can follow Chi Chow on Twitter at @LChiChow. Chi Chow, Chi Chow. Enable the blind ability skill on your Amazon device just by saying, Enable Blind Abilities.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the reality
of blind abilities.
The realities of blind
abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.